Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now remember, just the other day we were covering Joe Biden's disastrous border visit, his ridiculous do-nothing photo op, shaking hands with people, walking alongside Donald Trump's border wall, time with the Secret Service in Poland, to a Salvation Army worker, the guy looking at him like, what the hell are you even talking about, old man? And one of the stories that we briefly mentioned in that video was that Greg Abbott had handed a letter over to President Biden, essentially excoriating him and calling his border visit nothing but a PR stunt, a photo op, to pretend as if he was doing something. Well, friends, guess what? We now have the letter. We didn't have too many details back then, and so I hesitated really getting into any of the reporting, but we have the letter handed over from Texas Governor Greg Abbott to sleepy, creepy old man, poopy pants Joe Biden. And so we're going to read it, we're going to take a look, and of course, we're going to continue to talk about the subject. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so we have the letter. The Honorable Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States. Dear President Biden, your visit to our southern border with Mexico today is $20 billion too little and 2 years too late. Moreover, your visit avoids the sites where mass illegal immigration occurs and sidesteps the thousands of angry Texas property owners whose lives have been destroyed by your border policies. Even the city that you visit has been sanitized of migrant camps, which had overrun downtown El Paso because your administration wants to shield you from the chaos that Texans experience on a daily basis. This chaos is the direct result of your failure to enforce the immigration laws that Congress enacted. Under President Donald Trump, the federal government achieved historically low levels of illegal immigration. Under your watch, by contrast, America is suffering the worst illegal immigration in the history of our country. Your open border policies have emboldened the cartels, who grow wealthy by trafficking deadly fentanyl and even human beings. Texans are paying an especially high price for your failure, sometimes with their very lives, as local leaders from your own party will tell you if given the chance. All of this is happening because you have violated your constitutional obligation to defend the states against invasion through faithful execution of federal laws. Halfway through your presidency, though, I can finally welcome you to the border. When you finish the photo ops in a carefully staged, managed version of El Paso, you have a job to do. You must comply with the many statutes mandating that various categories of aliens shall be detained and end the practice of unlawfully paroling aliens en masse. You must stop sandbagging the implementation of the Remain in Mexico policy and Title 42 expulsions and fully enforce those measures as the federal courts have ordered you to do so. You must aggressively prosecute illegal entry between ports of entry and allow ICE to remove illegal immigrants in accordance with the existing federal laws, and you must immediately resume construction of the border wall in the state of Texas using the billions of dollars that has been appropriated for that purpose. You must also designate the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. On behalf of all Americans, I implore you, secure our border by enforcing Congress's immigration laws. Sincerely, Greg Abbott. What a fantastic letter. You know, it's really crazy to think just how basic common sense is so severely lacking in the Democrat Party, frankly in Washington in general. How is this even a debate or a discussion? How is this partisan? Governor Greg Abbott hits the nail so accurately on the head, he basically just gave Joe Biden a platform to stop the crisis. It's not exactly complicated stuff, it's just basic common sense, but it's just baffling that a consensus cannot be reached on this issue. Right there, there's the model. And a little bit beyond that is just basic rhetoric. Greg Abbott said in the letter how illegal immigration was at historic lows under Trump's presidency. Well, a lot of that had nothing to do with the actual policies. It had nothing to do with building a wall, Title 42, or Trump's Remain in Mexico policies, because literally the moment Donald Trump took office, illegal immigration almost overnight slowed down, simply because of rhetoric, because there was a message being sent to coyotes, cartels, and illegal immigrants that if you come, the issue is going to be taken seriously. And with Joe, it's the exact opposite. I mean, the biggest problem is the rhetoric. It's not even necessarily the policy. Of course, the policy helps, but rhetoric is the #1 step. You can't be campaigning on giving illegal migrants healthcare, then actually spending over $300 million taxpayer dollars in dental and healthcare to migrants who are housed at facilities. You can't make promises of asylum. You can't continue to muddy up the definition of asylum and what it is to be a refugee, creating almost this marketing shtick for the cartel hotels to convince migrants from places like El Salvador and Guatemala that coming from a poor country and being an economic migrant qualifies you for asylum as a refugee. That's not the way that it works. The biggest problem is rhetoric, not to mention how dishonest that is in the first place. The Democrats constantly use the word asylum and refugee while simultaneously implementing harsher immigration policies for people coming from Venezuela and Cuba. You know, two countries that are under communist dictatorship, where people are actually fleeing oppressive, deadly regimes. You know, people who might have actual legitimate claims of asylum in the United States of America. Those people are not welcome, but everyone else clearly is, according to the Democrats. I wonder why that is. Could it possibly have something to do with the fact that Venezuelans and Cubans tend to live in Florida and tend to vote Republican once they become citizens? No, of course not. It couldn't be. Joe Biden just the other day claimed that the problem didn't happen overnight. Well, it literally did. Because of your rhetoric, your lies, and your policies. Donald Trump had the solution, and any argument Democrats tell you is nothing but copium. Joe Biden keeps talking about legal paths towards immigration. Yeah, well, you can't exactly do that if you're not funneling people into legal points of entry. In other words, secure the damn border, build the wall at all the illegal cross points, and funnel people in through the legal path. No, of course not. The solution to this crisis is overwhelmingly simple. It's not a complex problem. In fact, we already know that Joe Biden knows exactly how to fix this problem because he could do it for his own personal residence. Biden builds a wall around his Delaware beach house, frequent trips costing taxpayers millions. Well, he's building a wall around his own personal home. Why? Because of security, because it keeps intruders out. Well, could that solution possibly work at the southern border? I wonder. Of course it would. These Democrats just don't want border security, and that's why they're going to keep coping and keep lying and keep on with these photo ops and ridiculous political stunts to try to convince the American public that they're on it and doing something. They aren't doing crap. In fact, they're so utterly dishonest that even CNN isn't giving them favorable coverage. CNN reporter calls out Biden over border visit, delivers fact check on White House excuse for why Biden didn't interact with migrants.
President Biden is waking up in Mexico, facing some criticism, including from members of his own party after his first visit to the border since taking office. It was a pretty tightly controlled visit to El Paso, Texas. It did include meetings with Border Patrol officers, lawmakers, and local officials. But President Biden did not appear to meet or actually see any migrants there, including as he visited a migrant aid center. So everyone asked the White House why that was. The White House says, well, there were no migrants there at the time. It was a coincidence, they say. Our reporting does show, though, that there are still and were when the president visited hundreds of migrants on the streets of El Paso, including children. Rosa Flores joins us live this morning from El Paso. And that's your reporting, Rosa, that those migrants were there. The president didn't interact with any of them?
No, he did not. And that's why the president is being criticized by both sides because of what he didn't see. So let me show you, because this is one of the migrant camps that's here in downtown El Paso. And, you know, the immigration advocates here in El Paso and Governor Greg Abbott usually don't agree on much, but they do raise the same question. If President Biden came here to El Paso to see the reality on the ground about the border, and he didn't come here, what's considered the epicenter of this crisis, did he leave with a clear understanding?
Everyone can see through this scam, and it's not just a partisan Republican issue. You know, actually another flashback to what we were speaking about yesterday, Karine Jean-Pierre claims that Joe Biden has so much support on the issue from people like Eric Adams, Muriel Bowser, and Lori Lightfoot, you know, people dealing with the border crisis on the front lines in places like Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New York.
Eric Adams, as Mayor Adams, who has been critical, right, of us, said it's an important positive step. And so, and I have a few more, the Denver mayor, the Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, and also Mayor Lightfoot. They all have said they support the president's actions.
And it's funny that she mentions Eric Adams and Lori Lightfoot, because we learned just 2 days ago that Eric Adams and Lori Lightfoot were complaining, demanding that Colorado stop sending and stop busing illegal migrants to their sanctuary cities.
Colorado says it will stop busing migrants to Chicago and New York after Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and New York City Mayor Eric Adams formed an alliance and wrote a letter to Colorado's governor. It said in part, although we share the concerns of accommodating the flood of asylum seekers, overburdening other cities is not the solution. We respectfully demand that you cease and desist sending migrants to New York City and Chicago. Now, the mayors and Governor Jared Polis agreed the federal government needs to step in to help with the crisis. Polis also noted notice that also noted Colorado coordinated with New York and Illinois when sending migrants, something Texas did not do. Chicago received more than 3,800 migrants seeking asylum from Texas alone.
It's nothing but endless hypocrisy, purposeful Democrat sabotage. They don't want to solve the problems. They're not genuine. They don't actually care. They're full of crap, in other words. The solutions are simple. The solutions are proven. Donald Trump enacted them. Greg Abbott is telling them exactly what to do, and if they were being honest, they would do it. If they were honest, they would take action. Oh, and actually, let's wrap up this video. Speaking of taking action, the GOP House Republicans are now filing articles of impeachment against DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Texas Republican Representative Pat Fallon has filed articles of impeachment against Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. It's time to take action and stop this Democrat sabotage, because it's not like, oh, they're just too incompetent and they don't understand and they can't get the job done. They don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. People's lives are being destroyed, cartels are making billions, and people are dying. And at the core of all of it is one man, this geriatric buffoon. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.